This video is going to be a little bit crude, but quick, hopefully. I recorded it back when I was building the Blitz cabinet, but I just never did anything with it. I've seen several people buying these HP Elitedesk PCs I recommended, and some are wondering how to install the external power switch. If you followed my detailed video on how to mod an Arcade1Up, you'll see me showing you how I turn off my PC before shutting down the cabinet. I use a cheap external power button that mounts to the top of my cabinet. It's a great solution to avoid having to open the cabinet to shut it down or to avoid having to use a mouse. Here's a quick tutorial. Alright, so it's really easy to work on these computers when you get them. They almost all come with one of these. This is specific to the HP computer, but a lot of them work just like this. You can pull this right off. And just to be extra safe, you might want to make sure your computer is not plugged into anything, and maybe even push the start button a few times, or the power button, to make sure it drains all the power. And now we're going to go ahead and install the, where is it? This is the power button connector. If you're using an external power button like I am, this is how you'll install that. Okay, so underneath here, this just lifts right up. No need for tools or anything. You're going to unplug this here. This is the power button. For reference, here's a CPU, here's the RAM. It's the black plug up here. It's hard to say what the top and the bottom is of this computer since there's no feed on here or on here. Now, if you want to, in order to get this cord to run through and still put the outside case on, you need to flip this thing up and back. Just go ahead and remove one of these altogether. Expansion card slots, you can just put it aside. Run your cable down through here. If I can get it in there. Now you got your cable in the cabinet, or in the PC case. Take this side, power switch facing up. CPU's here, you want it to face this direction up. You're going to plug it into the second row from the bottom. And I'll show you up close in just a second. There are 5 rows of pins from top to bottom. Plug yours in with the lettering facing up towards the top of the PC case. Since these are probably Chinese made, it's possible they won't all be the exact same. If yours isn't working with the power switch lettering facing up, try to swap it with the power switch lettering facing down. You can test it by plugging in the PC and pressing the power button. If it turns on, power it off immediately by holding down the power button until it turns off. If it works, move on to the next step. So if everything is now working, you should probably double check your shutdown settings in Windows. I'm assuming you have Windows 10. Once you're at your desktop here, click Start, go up to Settings, and then you want to go to System. On the left side here, you have Power and Sleep. Click that. I have both of these set to Never. Now that's up to you, of course, but I would recommend that if you want it to perform like mine does. We want to do over here on the right, Additional Power Settings. This is where you can go to the left panel now and choose what the power buttons do. Yours may come set up by default like this, but that's not always the case, so check this out. Under Power and Sleep button settings, when I press the power button, this should say shutdown. If it doesn't, drop down this box here, click shutdown. Click Save Changes, and you're good to go. That will make sure your PC shuts down when you push the button. Now I'm going to tell you how to make sure your computer starts up when you flip the power back onto the cabinet. Currently I have mine set up where I flip the power switch on the power strip, and that will make my PC boot up with the rest of the cabinet. It looks very much like a real arcade when you can flip one switch and have everything start immediately. Okay, in order to get into the HP BIOS settings, use a traditional keyboard, a wired keyboard, one that's going to work right away. So if you don't have one permanently hooked up to yours, at least pull one out of storage and hook it up for this. Once you press the power button to boot up your HP, which I'm going to do now, immediately start pressing F10 on the keyboard. Just keep pushing it repeatedly until you see something on the screen. You're not going to hurt anything. Push F10, there you go. Now you're in the BIOS settings. Okay, so once you're in the BIOS settings, use your keyboard's arrow keys and go to the right all the way to Advanced, and hit enter on power on options. You want to scroll down to the after power loss setting. Now right here mine is set to off. You want to switch it to on. And that's just so when you turn the power off to your cabinet, your PC power is cut completely. The power supply drains every little bit of power that's still in the capacitors, so it's completely dead at that point. Now when you flip the power back onto the cabinet, the computer is going to know as soon as the power supply fills with power, it's going to alert the motherboard's going to boot the computer. And that's what you want. So after that, press F10 to accept, and go back to File, and hit Enter on Save Changes and Exit, and that'll reboot your computer back to normal. And there you have it. That's the easy way to start up and shut down your arcade cabinets. We don't need any other things taking away from the fact that these are kind of just really expensive toys that we're enjoying. They represent arcade cabinets, but we all know that they're not the real thing. But you can make it feel and act as much like the real thing as possible by doing a couple mods like this. Plugging in this external power button is like an $8 mod, and it helps tremendously, I think. The last thing I want to do is be grabbing a mouse and keyboard from behind it, from beside it, whatever. Even those little micro keyboards I have that are wireless, I don't even want to deal with those. I want to be able to have somebody who doesn't know how to work with these walk right up to them, flip the switch, wait a minute for them to boot up, and they can start playing the games. That's my goal. And then the same thing with shutdown. The shutdown's pretty clean with just pushing the one button and it's off. So hopefully this helps you guys. If it did, please consider liking the video, consider subscribing if you haven't already. I keep putting out more arcade content for these. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.